Brazil is a country in crisis today, and police are surrounding a camp of supporters of far-right former President Bolsonaro at the Capitol today. Now, this comes a day after thousands of his backers stormed Congress, the Supreme Court, and the presidential palace. UT professor Wendy Hunter joins us this afternoon to give us some insight. Professor Hunter, thank you so much for joining us. Let's just get right to this. Bolsonaro has attacked Brazil's election systems for a while now with some unproven claims about potential fraud. Can you give us a breakdown of what led to this violent weekend?
Yes, there really have been months of insistence prior to the election even that the electronic voting system would be rigged against Bolsonaro, of course, without proof. And then he won. He was just very narrowly defeated. There ended up being only 1.8 percentage points between the victor, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, and Bolsonaro. So that gave some credibility, if you wanted to believe him, that there had been, if there had not been a little bit of fraud, he might have won. And then Bolsonaro did surge at the end. The other thing that I think was very important in this is Bolsonaro never officially conceded the election. So those three things put together, combined with real sentiment of some Bolsonarista sentiment without Bolsonaro as the head, really, I think, led to the violent weekend.
Okay, and what we saw unfold on Sunday, it's really eerily similar to the January 6th riots that happened a little more than 2 years ago right here in the U.S. What are some of the comparisons that are being made between these two events?
I think the first thing is that the losing president, the losing incumbent president, really stoked doubts and did not concede the election. And then just the very heavy social media communication among the protesters is a very striking parallel. The parallels extend to self-proclamations of the protesters being patriots, wearing the flag in the case of the U.S., the Brazilian flag in the case of Brazil, and then the shifting of blame to the left and their anti or unpatriotic antics is also apparent. But there's some key differences. The election in Brazil had been certified. It was certified the day it took place, and the new president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, was inaugurated. So there was no immediate rational purpose for this. It was the airing of discontent and pure destruction. So many people are saying that this was very discrediting on the part of the protesters. And the fact that Lula took very swift, decisive action against the protesters and federalized security operations in the Capitol may actually cause him to emerge stronger.
And Professor Hunter, lastly, the former president is reportedly in Florida. Representative Joaquin Castro even tweeted Bolsonaro should be held accountable for those crimes. So could the former president face any charges? Are there any legal consequences for this?
Indeed, he could face charges if they could draw a link between any actions and what happened yesterday. It's important to realize, though, that even before this, Bolsonaro was in trouble with the law. This is one reason it was so important for him to win. Sitting presidents are immune from prosecution. He faces charges with the federal police. He fired the chief of the federal police when he sort of zeroed in on the wrongdoing of the Bolsonaro sons. He faces charges for criminal negligence for his handling of COVID in its early days. And I'll end by saying Bolsonaro is an Italian citizen. So even if he doesn't stay in the U.S., he could well go to Italy, and his sons have applied for citizenship there as well. So again, he faced problems even before yesterday, problems with the law. And he has the exit option of Italy. So it is not simply a matter of extradition from the U.S.
All right, Professor Hunter, thank you so much. We'll, of course, be following this.
Thank you.